responsibility. As you can see here, these are the aspirational conducts that are referred by the PMI in its website in the Professional Code of Conduct. You can download it for free, as I mentioned. And similarly, these are all the mandatory conducts. So when I read out each and everything, it will be too lame for you to understand. But I had to paste this because these are something which I cannot modify. So it is important that you learn this as they are. So, but the explanation wise, you can understand some random points. Like for example, this one, aspirational conduct for the responsibility. Let's choose some random value. Let's choose this. That is, we accept only those assignments that are consistent with our background, experience, skills, and qualifications. So what happens here is where developmental or assignments are quite stretched, right? So we have to ensure that all the key stakeholders, they receive timely and complete information. So if there are any gaps, we should tell them. If there is any delay, we should tell them. So every stakeholder must be informed well in the decisions. So that's about this point. So similarly, what can we talk about? We can talk about we report unethical behavior or illegal conduct. You can see here, we report unethical behavior or illegal conduct to appropriate management and if necessary to those affected by this conduct. So what happens here is these provisions, they have quite severe or implications. These are something which we do not engage in any sort of illegal behavior. So when I say illegal behavior, you should not promote theft. You should not promote fraud. You should not promote the corruption. So in any illegal or slander or libel activities as stressed by the PMI code, we as a project manager should avoid getting engaged in such unethical and illegal conducts. Moving on, respect. What does respect mean? Having respect means having a very high regard to somebody. So as a project manager, we need to show that it is first we have to respect ourselves and also we have to respect the others. When I say others, it includes people, the physical resources. You are working on a machine which could be like a 1 million worth. So right, so we have to be showing respect from within to this machine as well. We have to respect the environment. When I say environment, we have to make sure as a project manager that by the chemicals that I am releasing from my production, I'm not harming my environment. So, and the money that is within our power, we have to respect the money, right? So this money is a hard-earned money by somebody, of course, and then this money can add a lot of value for something. So we have to acknowledge this. We have to respect the money, and of course, we have to respect the time. We have to respect the opinion. So everything that is within your bounds, you have to cultivate the habit of respecting it. When you respect something, what happens is you gain trust from the stakeholders. So when you are respecting somebody's opinion, somebody said differently than all other group. If you respect their opinion and understand their perspective, their point of view, we will be gaining that person's trust. Especially this happens in a diversified environment. So let's have a quick look at what aspirational conduct and mandatory conducts that there are, which are related to this respect. So even here, if we focus about each and every point, it's going to take some extra time, but I'll quickly read this out. So as an aspirational conduct, we first have to inform ourselves about the norms and the customs of others and avoid engaging in behaviors that they might consider as disrespectful. Similarly, another aspirational conduct for the respect is that we are going to listen to others' point of view, seeking to understand them. Similarly, another one would be we approach directly those persons with whom we have a conflict or disagreement. Similarly, we conduct ourselves in a professional manner, even when it is not reciprocated. So something to talk here as an implication of these provisions that we see. We could avoid, actually engaging in gossip. So we can avoid making negative remarks, negative comments, demean somebody, undermine somebody's reputation. So we, as a project manager, we are bound by this duty to also stop somebody who is getting involved in such behavior. Right? So respect that comes from within. So those are these behaviors. So similarly, when we talk about mandatory, that we are bound to do so, we have to negotiate in good faith, and we do not exercise the power of our expertise or position to influence the decisions or actions of others in order to benefit personally at their expense. We do not act in abusive manner towards others. We respect the property rights of others. So I have not modified any wording here, again, in respect to the PMI's guidelines. So have a look at it also in the website. It's a quite simple page. Moving on, fairness. Fairness is acting without partiality. So we as a project manager, we must make sure that there is no favorism, right? There are no favorites in the group. No, every decision that you're going to take must be totally unbiased. You should not favor somebody because he's your friend. So there may be so many friends in your organization because you might have worked for a longer time. You might have seen so many ups and downs with that person. But even in that kind of bonding, if somebody is going against the ethics of the program management or the project management, you have to stop them and you have to only take those fair decisions. So what are the aspirational conducts that are related to the fairness? First, we demonstrate the transparency in our decision making process, and then we constantly re-examine our impartiality and objectivity, taking corrective action as appropriate. We provide equal access to information to those who are authorized to have that information. We make opportunities equally available to qualified candidates. So when we say we constantly re-examine our impartiality or objectivity, what do we mean? Is that we have to, actually research with the practitioner, and when I say research, it must be on the subject of conflict. I know that it's quite a challenging job that the project managers quite often face. That one of the biggest problems is, not recognizing when we have a conflict. We will not even understand that there is a conflict going on between two parties. So it is our duty to first identify whether the environment is conflict free, and then start acting on it. So similarly, when we talk about when we make opportunities equally available to qualified candidates, what do we mean is that in case of contracting agreement, we have to provide information accessible to everybody who's involved in the process. So we cannot hide some information to some category. Everybody who's related to that work. Of course, if it's a confidential data, for my government organization or a confidential project, you cannot just share it for everybody in the project. But everybody who's at least involved in that process, he must be accessible to this information. Everybody who's working on that particular project. So similarly, if we focus on the mandatory conduct that we are bound to do, we'll quickly go through this. So we proactively and fully disclose any real or potential conflicts of interest to the appropriate stakeholders. Secondly, when we realize that we have a real or potential conflict of interest, we refrain from engaging in the decision-making process or otherwise attempting to influence outcomes unless or until we have made full disclosure to the affected stakeholders, we have an appropriate mitigation plan, and we have obtained the consent of stakeholders to proceed. See, what is happening here? And I know that's a lot to read here. So a conflict of interest, we keep on repeating this word, right? So when does it actually occur? It occurs when we are, in a position to influence decisions. So, one party with such decisions or, outcomes could actually affect multiple parties with this power of decision. Consider, for example, when we are acting as an employee, we have to be loyal to our employer. So when we are acting as a PMI volunteer, we have to be loyal to the Project Management Institute, right? I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. So we must recognize these different interests that a person plays, and we have to refrain, from influencing these decisions that we have as a conflict of interest. So similarly, we do not hire or fire, reward or punish or award or deny contracts based on some personal considerations. They include, but of course, they are not limited to favorism, nepotism, or bribery. Similarly, we do not discriminate against others based on, but again, not limited to gender, race, age, religion, disability, nationality, or sexual orientation. And the last point here is that we apply the rules of the organization, employer, project management institute, or other group without favoritism or prejudice.